Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is before I explain about my review journal with under the title "A Comparative Study of Web Development Technologies Using Open Source and Proprietary Software." Let me introduce myself. My name is Febryan Akhdani, and my student number ID is 19, 11, 50, 10, and 12. So the journal I reviewed is under title "A Comparative Study of Web Development Technologies Using Open Source and Proprietary Software." The abstract. This journal explained that a web application is a distributed application that runs on more than one computer and communicates through a network or a server. Specifically, a web application is accessed with a web browser as a client and provides the ability to update and maintain a program without deploying and installing software on client computers. Web programmers today are confronted with the difficulty of having to work with constantly changing technologies and having to make the right choice of which development technologies to use. This paper presents a comparison of web application development technologies using open source software and proprietary software. The comparison involves three major web development technologies, namely Java Server Pages or HSP. So the second is Active Server Pages or aka ASP.NET, and PHP Hypertext Preprocessor or PHP. For the comparison to take place, a web application was developed in all three technologies using the same requirements. The model view controller, aka MVC, design pattern was employed in developing the web application, and the parameters for the comparison are cost of implementation, browser compatibility, response time of HTTP requests, and operating system compatibility and mobile platform compatibility. So the methodology, actually it was a long text for the methodology, but in this section I will not explain all about the methodology of the journal because it will take too much too much time. I mean, so I will explain a little from the sub chapter in methodology. So the first subchapter is 2.1 about system architecture using Java. So the second is system architecture using the ASP.NET, and sub the third subchapter is system architecture using PHP, and the fourth subchapter is implementation in Java, and the fifth subchapter is implementation in PHP, and the last subchapter is explain about implementation in ASP.NET. So the statement of the problem. The major challenge facing web programmers today is choosing the right language for the job. Not only the languages, not only the language must fit the job, but it also must fit the programmer. The most common deciding factor typically centers on the developer's familiarity, which according to is an extremely subjective measurement. Other factors include the cost of implementation, browser compatibility, response time of HTTP requests, operating system compatibility, and mobile platform compatibility. Since the server-side application development is still evolving, developers are confronted with the difficulty of having to work with constantly changing technologies and having to make the right choice of which development technology to use. while some of the web development technologies are compatible with different operating system and browsers, others are not. So the aim and objectives of this journal is the first. The following are compare the major technological differences and similarities in web development technologies using open source tools such as HSP and PHP and proprietary tools such as ASP.NET. So the second aim is to explore the merits and demerits of using open source software and proprietary software in web application development. And the last aim is to compare the performance of the various web development technologies and different platforms including mobile devices. Then the conclusion of this journal is this research has pretended a comparison of web application development technologies using open source software and proprietary software. The comparison involved three major web development technologies, namely Java Server Pages or HSP, and so the second is Active Server Pages or ASP.NET, and the last is PHP Hypertext Preprocessor or PHP. In order to perform the comparison, a web application for submitting examination questions, marking schemes, course syllabuses, and examination results was developed in all the three languages with the same requirements. The open source software such as Java and PHP were found to be cheaper to implement as compared to proprietary software such as ESP.NET. The study also found out that open source tools such as Java, PHP, so Apache Server, Glassfish Server, and NetBeans IDE are more compatible with major operating systems for development of web applications than proprietary tools such as ASP.NET, Internet Information Service or IIS, and Visual Studio IDE.php and PHP and ASP.NET were found to be more user-friendly as compared to Java. This comparison was based on the model View Controller or MVC design pattern that was used in developing the application. ASP.NET MVC and Cake PHP frameworks were found to be faster and easier to use than Java. All three technologies is proved to be compatible with major web browser and mobile devices. Java performed better in processing login HTTP requests, followed by ASP.NET MVC, as it was observed by measuring the response time of processing HTTP requests and the login page of the application. In processing course syllabi, HTTP requests using the get method, aka listing the course syllabi, then Java performed better than ASP.NET and Cake PHP. However, ASP.NET MVC processed course syllabi HTTP requests using the post method, saving a course syllabus faster than Java and PHP. Similar results were obtained in processing requests from other pages. This indicates that in uploading data and files to the server, ASP.NET MVC performs better than Java and PHP for all other requests. Java performs better than ASP.NET MVC and Cage PHP. So the final conclusion of this journal is every technologies including Java, ASP.NET, and PHP has plus and minus each other. Like Java is more user friendly with the developer, and the Java and PHP is cheaper than ASP.NET and each other. So that is all I can explain about my review, my journal review under the title a comparative study of web development technologies using open source and proprietary software. It's all. That is all I can say. I will say sorry if there is some mistakes on my explaining. And the last from me, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.